I welcome you to the first session of Profit and Loss. In this session, we will take a look at basics of profit and loss. And let us start the basics with some basic definitions, which I'm sure most of you remember. Let us quickly recap them. First, cost price is the price at which someone buys an item, represented as CP throughout this session. Selling price is the price at which someone sells an item, represented as SP. Mark price is the price at which someone intends to sell and is represented by MP. Now remember, a person may or may not be able to sell at the mark price. So he might be able to sell at a discount on his mark price, or in some cases, when the goods are in high demand, he might be able to sell at a premium over the mark price. Profit is the excess of selling price over cost price, represented as P. Loss is the excess of cost price over selling price, represented as L. Discount is the excess of mark price over the selling price, represented as D. And premium is the excess of selling price over the mark price, represented as PM. Now, before you proceed, you must know all these definitions very well. Let us look at the first basic concept of profit and loss. Basic equations of profit and loss. In profit and loss, selling price can be arrived at from two sides. One side is the cost price side, the other side is the mark price side. What does that mean? So, for example, cost price plus profit is equal to the selling price. And from the mark price side, mark price minus a discount will also lead to the selling price. So, cost price plus profit is equal to selling price, which is equal to mark price minus discount. We could also have had a loss instead of a profit, which means cost price minus loss uh, would have given us the selling price. And similarly, in case of the mark price, instead of a discount, there could have been a premium. So mark price plus premium also gives us the selling price. Another simple thing that you need to know is when profit is R%, it simply implies that the selling price is R% more than the cost price. So when profit is R%, we can easily write that selling price is equal to 100 plus R upon 100 times CP. I'm sure all of you remember this particular thing from the percentage sessions. So this also implies that selling price is 100 plus R% of CP. For example, if profit is 20%, then selling price is equal to 100 plus 20 upon 100 times the cost price, which is also equal to 1.2 CP or 120% of CP. So when profit is 20%, selling price is 1.2 CP or 120% of CP. If the profit were 30%, selling price would be 1.3 CP or 130% of CP, and so on. Again, before you proceed any further, you should ensure that you internalize this particular relation between selling price and cost price. Let us solve one simple question. A man buys an item for 60 rupees and sells for 72 rupees. What is the profit percent? CP is equal to 60 rupees. SP is 72 rupees. Percentage profit is 72 minus 60 upon 60 into 100. Straight formula substitution, nothing more. Which is equal to the percentage profit given as 20%. Let us look at another question. When a man sells an item for rupees 169, he earns a profit of 30%. Find the cost price of the item. So here we have a profit of 30%. So what is the relation between selling price and cost price? Since the profit is 30%, selling price is 130% of CP, and therefore 169, that is the selling price given to us, is equal to 1.3 times CP. On solving this, CP is equal to 169 divided by 1.3, and which is equal to 130 rupees. Let us look at another similar question. When a man sells an item for rupees 195, he incurs a loss of 5%. Find the cost price of the item. Here we have a loss of 5%. So when there is a loss of 5%, the relationship between the cost price and the selling price is equal to 95% of CP. So putting the value of selling price as 195, we have 195 is equal to 95% of CP or 0.95 CP. And on solving this, we finally get the value of CP as rupees 200. Let us solve another question. A man sells an item for a loss of 40%. What will be the profit if he sells at 2 times the earlier selling price? Now we see that in this question, all values are given in percentage terms. So whenever every value is given in percentage terms, I suggest you assume something as 100 to solve the question. So what should we assume as 100? If you look at the question, we've got to calculate the profit percent. And because profit percent is calculated in terms of cost price, assume the cost price as 100. So cost price is assumed to be 100. Because the man sells at a loss of 40%, the selling price must be 60 rupees. Now the second selling price is 2 times the first selling price. So the second selling price is equal to 120 rupees. And by observation we can see that when the cost price is 100 rupee and the selling price is 120 rupee, the profit percent must be 20%. Let us look at another question. When a man sells an item for rupees 34 more, a man earns a profit of 9% instead of a loss of 8%. Calculate the cost price of this item. What is given to us in this question? We are told that there are 2 selling prices. One selling price where the man incurs a loss of 8%, that is the first selling price. And when you sell for rupees 34 more, the man, he earns a profit of 9%. So initial selling price where the man incurs a loss of 8% must be 92% of the cost price. And this is called as SP1. Similarly, the final selling price, in which a man earns a profit of 9%, is equal to 109% of CP, represented as SP2. So when the man sells at SP1 plus 34 rupees, that is the first selling price plus 34 rupees, he earns a profit and gets the second selling price, that is selling price 2. So selling price 1 plus 34 must be equal to selling price 2. This is the fundamental equation for solving the question. Let us substitute the values. 92% of cost price plus 34 must be equal to 109% of the cost price. So SP1 is 92% of cost price, SP2 is 109% of cost price. On taking the like terms on one side, we have 17% of cost price is equal to 34 and the value of cost price as rupees 200. 34 upon 0.17 would be 200. Let us solve another question. When a man sells an item for rupees 25 more, the man earns a profit of 3% instead of a loss of 2%. Calculate the cost price of this item. Again, a similar question. There are 2 selling prices in question. One selling price where the man incurs a loss of 2% and the other selling price where the man gains 3%. So initial selling price where the man earns a loss of 2% is equal to 98% of cost price, because when there is a loss of 2%, the selling price is 98% of CP. And the final selling price is equal to 103% of CP, which we represent as SP2. The equation is very similar. The first selling price plus rupees 25 must be equal to SP2. And 98% of CP plus 25 is equal to 103% of CP, which gives 5% of CP is equal to 25. Now in an exam, this is the equation, this is the only equation which you need to write down and then calculate the answer orally. CP is equal to 25 upon 0.05, which is equal to rupees 500. So with this we come to an end of this session on profit and loss. If you have any feedback or query, please feel free to write to us at studentservices@pfindia.com.